So yeah, well, this is sort of you know the title. We don't need this. Let's get through the main slides here. I think a little bit about me really quickly. I'm a search sort of engineer. I've started in the space for a long time ago. I was at Microsoft at the Bing team, and then worked for a bunch of companies afterwards. So been in the search space for the past 16 plus years. I founded a company called Goody, one of the earlier AEO platforms in the space, where you're able to monitor action, measure everything from impressions on ChatGPT to revenue and all of the AEO. Sort of like probably you've seen a lot of these tools at this point, but a lot of the monitoring and actions and agentic components, as well as sort of experimentation, really a native tool built for AO at large and this problem. So we know a thing or two about the space. I've also founded a company called No Good here in New York City, where we help scale ups and startups with AEO and social and content, which is sort of also what we believe are pillars of organic growth. So yeah, search has changed. I feel like this slide we had 2 years ago. I feel probably at this point, if you have not been paying attention, I guess we won't be in this room. So search is changing, and I think it's not just about sort of asking LLMs. It's now about agents and agents they can act on our behalf. So I can skip some of these sort of earlier slides around sort of search is changing, why it's changing, what's actually happening in the space. But the main thing is that by 75% of revenue by 2028 will be driven by LLMs. I would argue the number will be even higher. I think by end of this year, I think more and more of search as we know it will be driven by AI. So right now we have on Google, we have AI overview at the top. We have AI mode. AI mode now have 750 million weekly active users for AI mode, which is massive. And then you have Gemini over 500 million active users. So these are significant numbers. We're talking in billions now. AI overview and sort of the larger Google AI ecosystem have over 2 billion active users, according to their last earning reports. So, 50% of consumers now use AI search. I think these are some studies that we're running. We just collected them for you here. One from Adobe, one from CIO, one from CX Drive. You can see some of the data around 73% of global consumers use AI in shopping journey. 81% of IT decision makers use AI in purchasing process, and so on and so forth. So I think you get the idea why this matter, why it's important. A very interesting study by McKinsey as well talks about agentic commerce. We're talking here about a global projection of $3 to $5 trillion. Another sort of like significant numbers that we're seeing. This is by 2030 for the size of agentic commerce. And we're seeing a 693% growth in AI traffic from seller sites during the 2025, not 2024. We have a mistake here, 2025 holiday season. This is an Adobe study. A lot of these studies we're actually happy to make available afterwards. This is our own study on sort of like the AI search impact, downstream impact versus traditional search. And we're seeing over 2x impact. So essentially like a one AI search lead or a ChatGPT lead versus a Google lead. A ChatGPT lead is 2x more valuable than a Google lead. This is here looking at the downstream effect. You can see here the funnel from traffic share all the way down to lead close, and you can see the close rate that across these platforms. You can see the close rate by platform, and you can see also like Google versus ChatGPT or traditional search versus AI search. So this is another report by Adobe, 2025 report, also showing the AI search conversions versus non-AI conversions rate. And you can see here the conversion rate just slowly climbing up. Actually, I would say rapidly climbing up. And this number actually continues to go up in 2026, according to our own data. So yes, so AI search matters, but it's the data is proven and significant. The impact is here and it's here to stay, and we're not getting back to sort of what we had, which is traffic-driven, one-to-one relationship, and Google is the primary players. AI search is fragmented now. We have many services from Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, to Google itself, and many other services, and we're seeing that the conversions are there. And it's a zero-click experience overall. So If we have to sort of like do a quick sort of comparison here, we're looking at, SEO. If we have to say SEO is clicks driven, now we're looking at visibility and citations. If we have to look at keywords, we now have to look at prompts. If we think about link building, now we have to think about brand management, social PR, and partnerships. If we have to like focus on traffics, now our focus should be more on conversions. If we have to optimize for algorithms, I guess we're getting sort of different types of algorithms, but now we have agents that are crawling sites and grabbing information from these sites and taking actions behind in behalf of users. And I would argue the last one is essentially the same in my opinion. I think SEO foundation is still really and good old content is still what powers all of this. Who do you think are the leading platforms in AI search today? Feel free to like chime in on the chat here. Who do you think is the leading AI search platform in terms of usage? ChatGPT, Claude, AI mode, Gemini, ChatGPT. All right. Well, I might have already shared some data earlier. You can see here AI platforms by active users. You see Google AI overview is number one, followed by Meta AI, surprisingly number two. ChatGPT is now 900 million active users, not 800, so it's third. Gemini is close now to 500, and then AI mode and so on. So, but then the other side of it, which is how AI platform referral traffic. So you can see here, this is sort of analyzing 41 brand websites, 2.8 million AI search referral sessions, and looking across all of these websites. What are the biggest drivers of referral traffic? And we see ChatGPT is number one, followed by Copilot bunching above their weight here. And then you have Perplexity, Gemini, Claude afterwards. We have these two studies were made in October 2025, so the numbers will look a bit different. I would argue. I think Claude probably went up, so did Gemini. But the referral traffic, it's very interesting to see sort of like 89% of the referral traffic were coming from ChatGPT. Interesting fact here is that Google does not disaggregate the AI search data. Like Google is not going to tell you AI mode versus AI overview versus versus traditional sort of search. Like it shows you Google search in general. So this is now just looking at AI search traffic, and Google does not disaggregate their data. This is pulling the referral sources here from GA4. So just something to keep in mind why Google is not really showing up here. I would argue Google is still the dominant player based on some of these numbers, but here we're just looking at the referral traffic. What are the factors that impact the brand visibility on LLMs and AI search? So this is one of the biggest reasons why we're here, right? We analyzed 2.2 million prompts and associated responses, and all the citations that come with that. And these are sort of millions of citations. And you can see here, looking at the data here, this is sort of what we call AO periodic table. And you can see in this periodic table, the factors on the right, on the left side here, the 15 factors that we ran in the study. And you can see here the models that we ran these studies on. We're actually doing a refresh. This is the end of year 2025. We're doing one that we're actively working on, should be released in the next few weeks. But the fundamentals are still there, guys. I think we're looking here at content relevance, quality, credibility, and trust. Citations and mentions are very high. Topical authority, content freshness, consistency of co-occurrence. This is a very important concept. Happy to explain in a second. Agent experience, technical performance, reviews and UGC, localization, verifiable performance metrics, being able to back up the claims that you make with data, sentiment analysis, SERP ranking, social signals. So you can see here the each and every platforms, how each and every variable scores. This is a 35 pages study. If you guys want to download it, look at it, sort of like to understand the methodology, how we rated, broke down each and every impact factors and rated accordingly, and came up to these scores. The main idea here is that you can see content, obviously, and the quality of content remains the key factor here. A new concept of what we call net information gain is like, are you actually offering content that is worth reading? Is it valuable? And is the content relevant to the prompt? Does it have the quality and depth? Can I trust you as a source? to be talking about this topic. And then the other piece I would focus on citation and co-occurrence is when we ask ChatGPT questions, it gets out there and pulls a bunch of information from the internet at large. Obviously, there's the memory, but there's RAC as well, which is like this sort of think of it as archival, and it pulls a lot of information from this sort of index that it has, and it actually gives it to you as sources. So uh, now looking at these sources, do we have citations in these sources or not? Are you being cited as as a website or not? And then the other piece is, are we seeing co-occurrence? Do we see consistency with these sources? If we have one source saying, you know what, this is the best brands, but every other source is saying, "Hmm, this is not really it. We have a bunch of negative user reviews here. People are talking about this brand in a specific way on YouTube or Reddit. We have this LinkedIn post or LinkedIn article talking about this brand or industry. Co-occurrence matters. AI looks at all of these sources. So you're no longer who you think you are what the internet says about you. And that's a sort of part of the of how we lost control in for AEO is like, you know, your citations or own citations are less than 3%. So AI is relying on your website less than 3% to answer questions about you as a brand. So it's a very fundamental shift here. And I really think it's an interesting study for you all to read. What are the factors that drive visibility on LLMs and AI search? This is how we're talking about the product visibility, not brand visibility. And product visibility, and the difference here is important because the brand visibility is just getting mentioned in an LLM output. The product visibility is showing up, your product showing up on the agent of commerce card. This is another study that we ran. Very interesting one. You can see here the product visibility, looking at it in terms of structured data, freshness, and of price and availability. Is the product available or not? Intent match, review ratings and volume, review ratings, volumes, intended sentiment, offer competitiveness, merchant trust policy, compliance. There's a bunch of sources here. Obviously, for Rofos and Amazon, given that it's doesn't rely on external earned sources, you can see that citations is not really is scoring zero. So looking at it, ChatGPT versus Google AI, Rofos, and so on, you're able to see sort of like the variability and what factors to focus on: structured data, product freshness, and having a reliable feed, and semantic alignment. If I'm looking for, let's say, a green dad hat, right? And I say, and I say New York. Now these are attributes, and if these attributes are already included in the product feed, you're more likely to show just because there's semantic alignment between the query or the prompt that I put and the all of the attributes that the product has. So this is sort of one of the biggest pieces that we focus on in agent commerce, and how can we make sure that all of the users' queries and the attributes are matching effectively. What are the most influential sources for AI domains? This is sort of like, I'm going to rush through some of these data points quickly. These are sort of some of the most cited domains. You can see that on our site. What are the most cited domains that are driving AI narrative today? We have that. I think it's important to look that by industry and the ones that are specific to your brand. This is here looking at consumer finance. B2B SaaS, you can see sort of PC Mag, G2, Forbes, Capterra. You can see sort of the citation share. Beauty and personal care, you can see Sephora, Birdie, Allure, Amazon. You also like what are the stores now looking at agent commerce, which stores AI trusts the most and cites the most, or I guess pulls information from the most. This is in beauty and personal care. We saw Sephora, Amazon, Ulta, and so on. So moving on. So how do I do AEO? And this is sort of one of the main reasons why we're all here, right? This is sort of like we're going to go through some companies quickly that sort of have seen quite a bit of AEO success here. Looking at Dermalogica, Unilever brand that have seen quite a bit of success in AEO. This is before and after. This is also like a B2B brand as well. So given the limited time, I don't want to go into the case studies. I also think it's honestly like more salesy for my taste here. So I prefer to go straight to the sort of how do you measure AEO performance. And for me, it's about the probabilistic and deterministic. And by probabilistic, I mean it's a lot of what we're seeing in a lot of these tools out there. It's essentially prompting at a scale and measuring whether you're visible or not. And obviously, you need the right panel of data. You need to do this methodically and properly. I believe like a lot of if you try to do this in an SEO retrofitted way, it might not really work and might give you a false positive or a false negative here. But the probabilistic data here, we have the AI share of voice, visibility, sentiment, citation share, and so on. On the right side, we have the deterministic data. This is sort of the AI referral traffic. This is the data that we're getting from Search Console, data that we're getting from GA4, HubSpot, and et cetera. So you're able to see GA4 data, the referral traffics, how many people came from each and every source, revenue generated through that, but also like post-conversion surveys asking people, how did you hear about us? And some brands are more sophisticated than others on the attribution piece here, but the probabilistic piece is relatively new because we lost a click. It's zero click experience. And it's very important that we are able to truly understand and measure our performance on this newly created digital shelf, right? So AO at large is made up of these sort of like four disciplines, in my opinion. I think SEO remains the foundation, content, and obviously owned assets in general make a big piece of it, and none of these two pieces are new for us. PR, I think we used to call that link building back in the day, but now actually like looking at the citation graph and how AI really just like frames outputs and pulls information from these various sources. I think earned media PR should have a seat on the table when we start discuss AEO, and so does social. We actually have a whole study on how social now is the fastest growing citation source driving AI answers. So now looking at sort of across these four disciplines, sort of how can we formulate an AO strategy, right? I want to start with social. I would strongly believe that to win AI source, you must actually win social. Looking here at social, sources are 2.5x more cited than own brand. So essentially, what is happening on social is impacting the AI answer as it relates to your brands 2.5 times. So sometimes we're focused too much on optimizing our own site, which is great. We should continue to do it. But we should not be missing out on how the conversation around our brand is happening out there and how it's shaping AI answers today. There's a study that we put out on this. It talks quite a bit about sort of like the breakdown of social citations, which platforms are actually driving the narrative by industry. You can see here we've seen 3.8x more social citation growth. We're looking at the 4.2 average citation own pages is close to 2%. You can see here the YouTube growth over time. YouTube, like, is this sort of like red line? You can see sort of how YouTube is growing. YouTube is the most cited domain on the web today by AI across all platforms, not Reddit, in fact. This differs by, if you look at Google platforms, YouTube is the most cited. If you look at Perplexity, YouTube is the most cited. If you look at ChatGPT, Reddit comes up slightly higher. If you look at Grok, X is the most cited. So this is something we call platform coupling, and it's also like it's covered in the study as well. But you can see here that social is a rapidly growing citation share. You can see the curve here in terms of looking across all citation graph. And a very important sort of initiative here is you can see here, YouTube long form is actually the most cited content format. So this is the content type. You can see YouTube long video is actually cited 51 times more than shorts. In fact, we rarely see AI citing YouTube shorts, right? So LinkedIn articles, you can see here also like LinkedIn articles are actually cited quite high. Not LinkedIn post, for example, which what a lot of people believe would be cited. Same thing, we're starting to see Instagram and TikTok appear on some of these as well. So we have a lot more details about when AI search, why social is a starting point, and the breakdown by each and every platform on what to focus on. We strongly believe that this starts by auditing by format, not just platform. You need to audit the platform format. You need to look at citation graph overall, how social is defining the answer for you, and you need to bring your social team into this conversation and see whether they can reach out some of the creators, whether they can be invited into a conversation. I like to say be invited, not sort of go on Reddit and spam everything and everyone. We genuinely believe that this is actually, I would argue, it's not just ineffective. I would actually argue it's going to hurt you eventually too, as a brand, and we strongly advise against that. So I think it's very important to understand how which conversations are making up the are driving some of these answers, and get your social team involved and make sure that you have a feedback loop, understanding, well, I made a change, I published something new. How is that driving the answer that I'm looking at? And this is a challenge in AEO. It's one of the most multidisciplinary topics that we've had in marketing so far. So yeah, you look at the audit formats, you audit the citation type by platform and format, and you start sharing that with the team, give them some guidance around what is driving the answer for you today. This is sort of for YouTube, you go long, not short. For Reddit, obviously, like, you have a bunch of subreddits, find the right conversation, get invited in some of these conversations, be authentic. If you have a Redditor in your team, make sure that you sort of like get them involved to lead with authenticity here rather than, as I said, trying to hack your way into Reddit. Reddit is really sort of quite fortified against hacking here, and if you get pass through it at some point, eventually you're gonna get caught if you do that at scale. Um, so I have a question here on the side. Does AI differentiate between brand self-written content versus what's published by other brands on channel, LinkedIn, and YouTube? This is what we're seeing here is owned social content and content that is written by other parties about the brand. So in our next study, we'll be separating your owned versus owned social versus sort of non-owned social. But this data is across the board, and we're seeing actually like your own content is being cited quite often. So it's just that the thing is when you use AI mode, if you have an article about let's say how to choose the best growth marketing agency, if we have a YouTube of no good or Goody have a YouTube video about that, it's more likely to be cited despite us being the source here. But this is an interesting question. I don't have a good answer that is backed by data for you, but I'm just telling you I've seen both. But I don't have a data point to answer this precisely. But next study, I have a couple of the team members here. They're paying attention and they're going to capture that. If you have any other questions, please free to share it. If we have an answer, we'll try to share it with you. And if not, please let us know if you have an answer too. Awesome. So I want to jump from social and go into sort of some AO building blocks, right? And I want to do a quick time check here to see how, I have, if you don't mind, I might go over by 3 or 4 minutes. I'm going to go into like the AO building blocks here and then maybe take some questions. AO building blocks, starting with, um, um, uh, what we call in industry EAT, or what I like to call it is uniqueness, helpfulness, experience, expertise, authoritativeness, trustworthiness, essentially, aka writing human reading worthy content. Good old content, still king, still wins. Now think about net information gain. Why AI will cite this piece? What's unique about this piece to be cited? What's unique about this piece to be written? Is there a unique point of view? Is there a quote from an expert? Are you the right person to be writing about this? So can AI trust this and think about it this way? A lot of this sort of a lot of I see a lot of programmatic AO and people trying to scale content in aggressive ways. I think we should gotta just think hard about it. It's like as the model gets smarter, search uses sort of if you're using Opus 4.6, which is at the time of this lesson, this is one of the best models out there. Um, um, ChatGPT and Perplexity and Gemini's and Gemini, like and all of the models that we're trying to optimize for also have the same reasoning capabilities, and eventually you're going to be able to tell whether this AI generated or not, whether this valuable or not. I think what you should focus on still, instead of this is AI generated or not, is this is valuable, unique. Do I have the expertise and the experience to be present here, and the experience of the page itself? This is not just my experience, but experience of the page here. And am I the right authority to be writing about this? And can this be trusted? Do I have verifiable performance metrics? So once again, good old content. I feel like I'm trying to break it down, but I feel like most people here know that really well. Nothing changed there, in my opinion. I think if you've been doing SEO for a while, you know what good old content that is going to rank looks like, right? And then the other piece is the technical SEO, right? Which is a classic, also web vital, site speed, canonicals, redirects, indexation. All of that still matters. So you can still see that SEO is the foundation for AEO. But now building on top of it, we have technical AEO, agent scalability, or is my content being retrieved by agent and by AI models, right? So rendering, structured data, which we had structured data before, but now it's far more important. LLM text file, robots text file, both are valuable. Robots text file is a must-have. LLM text file is a nice to have. We have some data that it's already it actually improves the LLM's ability to navigate your site, but again, robots text file is a must-have. LLM text file is a nice-to-have for now. And now at the very top, you have the sentiments, UGC, and social signals, how people and how the internet essentially talks about your brand. And this is, we talked about the citation graph. We broke that down for you. And the sentiment and how user-generated content or reviews, social signals talk about your brand. At the very top, you have citations and mentions across owned and earned. Your own websites, is it being cited when it mattered? And are you being invited, like being pulled by these LLMs to present your answer in the output? And the same thing about earned domains, whether publishers, referral sites, and others. And at the very top is co-occurrence. Is there a consistency across all of these? Are we seeing the answer being consistent? When the answer or the narrative is consistent across 4 or 5 different sources, now you get to earn the right for visibility and the right to be part of that answer. These are the sort of, in my opinion, the building blocks. And you can see here, this is sort of the path to visibility. I made this example for AI mode. At the very top is what the internet says about you. At the very bottom is essentially like the initial foundation and how agents and models index your brands. And then sort of, I strongly still believe that good old SEO is the foundation for a great AEO program. This is sort of like just a bit of a detailed breakdown of the importance of valuable content more than ever now. I would emphasize uniqueness and net information gain on these content. This is why we publish quite a bit of studies, and it's highly cited out there. So if I had to break this like strategy farther, you have the own visibility, the earned visibility, technical optimization, and AI search intelligence, which you need a tool to sort of make sure that you connect some of these dots. You have the own visibility where you're able to like essentially understand sort of your citation graph and how you're presented there and how your own site is actually is becoming a source. The goal is to be a source or replace a source, right, with your own site, or be a citation or replace a citation. And then earned visibility is called a digital PR. It's just an evolution of what link building used to be. But that now is a lot broader because it includes social creators, UGC, affiliate syndications, and good old digital PR. And then we have technical optimization. And this is here understanding how to be retrieved and cited by these models. These agents, think about agent visibility. Agents are the first class citizen of the internet. More than 50% of the internet traffics are bots and agents. Back in the day, we used to consider these bots are really bad for your traffic, gives you false negative or positive on the data. Now you welcome these bots, you track them, you understand what behavior they have on your site. You allow them to retrieve the right content, block them when you need to block them, ensure that your site is accessible for them. You have structured data, and you're making sure that your content is digestible by these bots in terms of semantic chunking and other methods that we do on that regard. And then on the right side, you have the AI search intelligence, where you're able just to connect the dots of from all the way from impressions and answers and visibility all the way down to metrics that matters, and close the loop, understanding what actions I've taken and how these actions are actually impacting my conversions, impacting my revenue. The goal was never traffic. We should not be freaking out about a decline in traffic. There's a change of behavior on the internet today, and the goal is conversions and organic growth. That's always the goal that we've had. We've had in SEO and search in general, in the organic game, and now the goal remains. It's just a matter of how can I work backwards from it, and is the work that I'm doing in the AO front is actually moving the needle for in terms of revenue and North Star of the metrics that matters. I'm gonna pause here because I know I've gone 3 minutes over time. I have a few slides towards the end that if you want to reach out, we have a course, we have a bunch of other things. This is sort of what we have a platform that does this end to end. The team is telling me I'm not talking about that enough, but now we know. And then also like we have our course coming up on AO, where we're spending deep sort of like sessions on each and every one and how to like actually break this down, more of a workshop sessions rather than sort of like, quick high level overview that we're doing here. And feel free to please reach out, stay in touch if you have any questions. I'm happy to take a question or two. Otherwise, since we want to respect everyone's time, we can wrap up.